In a small village called Uzogu, deep in eastern Nigeria, there once lived a young woman named Udoka. They said beauty lived in Uzogu, long-haired maidens, smooth-skinned daughters of the sun. Every girl in the village prided herself on her beauty, but none could boast without mentioning her hair. The longer your hair, the higher your worth. But among them was Udoka, the girl everyone mocked. Her hair barely touched her shoulders, and the other girls often laughed, calling her Udoka the bored chick. Yet, while others spent hours before their mirrors, Udoka spent her time helping her mother sell fruits in the market, giving water to travelers, and sharing what little food she had. They laughed at her humility. They mistook her silence for weakness. But what they didn't know was that Udoka's heart was richer than all the vanity in Uzogu. One afternoon, Udoka was returning from the market when she saw a young man struggling beside a broken cart. His clothes were dusty, and his feet were bruised, but there was something noble about his calmness. She dropped her basket and rushed to help. "Brother, are you hurt?" she asked gently. The man smiled faintly. "No, just lost my way, and maybe my pride too." She laughed softly, dusting his shoulder. "Even pride gets lost sometimes. Come, my mother's hut is nearby. You can rest and eat before you find your way." He hesitated, then followed. Udoka gave him food, hot yam and palm oil, the best she had. She even gave him water from the pot she fetched that morning. When he thanked her, she only said, "A good deed is a seed, it will grow when it should." He smiled. "May your kindness return to you 100-fold. And with that, he left, never telling her that he was Prince Obinna, the son of King Emeka. Days later, the sound of drums shook Uzogu. A royal messenger rode into the market and struck his gong. "By order of His Majesty, King Emeka, Prince Obinna shall take a wife in 10 days. The chosen bride will be the woman with the longest hair in the entire kingdom." The news spread like wildfire. Every girl in Uzogu lost sleep that night. Mothers ran into the forest to gather herbs. Fathers spent their savings on oils. Even the old women began to braid and stretch their hair, hoping for a miracle. But Udoka, she simply smiled and said to her mother, "Mama, what is meant for me will find me even if I am bald." Her mother nodded and whispered, "My daughter, your beauty is not in your hair, but in your heart. Let others chase what fades, you hold on to what lasts." In the middle of all the frenzy was Uzogu, an old woman with bitterness in her eyes. Years ago, King Emeka had ordered the execution of her fiancé, a man wrongly accused of stealing royal gold. Since that day, she had sworn revenge on the royal family. When she heard about the wedding, she smirked. "So, the king wants joy in his house again. He shall taste sorrow instead." She opened a small hut by the roadside, hanging a wooden sign that read, "The secret to hair that grows overnight." And like bees to honey, every maiden in Uzogu rushed there. Uzogu welcomed them with smiles and soft lies. She gave each girl a sweet drink, a sleeping charm, and rubbed their hair with her so-called miracle oil, which was actually a potion that burned every strand of hair to dust. One by one, they fell asleep in her hut, and woke up days later, bored and crying. On the 10th day, the drums sounded again. The whole village gathered before the palace. The king sat tall on his golden stool, and beside him stood Prince Obinna, now dressed in royal cloth, his face calm but watchful. One by one, the maidens stepped forward, unveiling their heads. Gasps filled the air. Every girl was bald, not a single strand of hair left. The king rose in shock. "What is the meaning of this madness?" The girls wept. It was the old woman, Uzogu. She promised to make our hair longer, but she destroyed us instead. Guards were sent immediately to fetch Uzogu. When she was dragged before the throne, she trembled. But her eyes still burned with rage. "You took the man I loved," she spat. "So I took the joy you hoped for." The king shook his head. You have punished the innocent to hurt the guilty. And that makes your pain no different from cruelty. He ordered her to be imprisoned for life. As the crowd murmured, a voice from the back called out, "What about Udoka?" All heads turned. There she was, standing quietly with her mother, dressed simply, her hair wrapped in a faded scarf. A maiden mocked her. "She doesn't even have hair." But when the wind blew, Udoka's scarf slipped, and the sun caught her hair. It was full, thick, and dark like polished ebony. The crowd gasped. Prince Obina's eyes widened. He remembered her, the humble girl who had given him food and kindness when he had nothing. He stepped forward and smiled. "So it is you," he said softly. "The one whose heart is richer than any crown." The king nodded in agreement. "From this day forth," he declared, "Prince Obina shall take Udoka as his bride. For true beauty lies not in what the eyes can see, but in what the heart carries." The village rejoiced. Drums echoed. Udoka and her mother were lifted high in celebration. As for the other maidens, they hung their heads in shame, finally understanding that pride had blinded them all along. And the wicked Uzogu. She lived the rest of her days behind stone walls, her heart eaten by regret. Udoka became queen, not because of her beauty, but because of her kindness. Under her reign, Uzogu changed forever. Women stopped competing over hair and mirrors. They started helping one another, sharing, and learning that a pure heart is worth more than gold. So, remember this, in a world that worships what shines on the outside, stay true to what glows within. For the same way rain falls on every roof, life tests every soul. But only the humble shall stand tall when the storm is over. Moral lessons. True beauty lies in humility, not vanity. Revenge never heals a wound, it deepens it. Goodness, no matter how small, will always return multiplied. The heart that stays kind in suffering will one day wear the crown of peace. So when next you're tempted to laugh at another, remember Udoka, the girl they mocked, yet the one chosen by destiny. Her story reminds us that no pain is wasted, and no act of kindness goes unseen. If this story touched your heart, then click subscribe and join this family where every story carries a lesson, and every lesson carries truth.